costing money, if you would address us, please.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here to talk to you. I recognise quite a few people I met during the referendum campaign. I'm very much in favour of a written constitution, but I think it's important to say it's not a panacea. In my career as a diplomat, I served in countries like Nigeria, when it was under the Babangida dictatorship, like Uzbekistan, under the Karimov dictatorship, which actually had written constitutions in which there's very little you could disagree with, but which are not, in any sense, functioning democracy. And a written constitution is perhaps a necessary, but certainly not a sufficient condition for good government. As I'd say at the start, there's another problem with the written constitution, which is that without relating that to several other conditions of society, it really doesn't make that much difference to how you are governed. And part of that is when you opt for a written constitution, the real essence of a written constitution is, on behalf of the people, to put a brake on the power of the executive. But what a written constitution does is empower the judiciary to interpret that constitution to make judgments to do it. So you're handing over the protection of the rights of the people to the judiciary and inviting an activist judiciary. The trouble is, very often, and either the constitution in Uzbekistan, the constitution in Nigeria doesn't work, is that they don't have free and independent judiciaries. And of course you might say, well, it's okay, we're in Scotland, we do have a free and independent judiciary. Well, up to a point. I mean, officially we have a free and independent media. Has anybody seen today's newspapers with their reports on the continents here, where there's a collection of snide, sarcastic and vitriolic reports in every single newspaper? And believe you me, we have much the same structure in our judiciary that we have in our media. And for various historical reasons connected to the fact that it was one of the Scottish law was one of the few quasi-independent Scottish institutions, it became quite a focus for society, and we have quite a narrow, I would say, incestuous bunch of senior lawyers and judges in Edinburgh, most of whom went to Fettes or Mercosur, almost all of whom are unionists, and who are a pretty damn right-wing lot. And unless you actually change the structure and the means of rising to the top, the social structure of your judiciary, you're not going to achieve a great deal by having a written constitution. Sorry, that's my least radical thoughts. I get more radical as I get more radical as I talk progressively. It is, of course, complete nonsense that in this day and age we have a constitution which is based on having a head of state who is hereditary. I must say, having been out for 3 or 4 months solid working on in the referendum campaign, I worked alongside hundreds of yes activists, many of whom were SNP, some of whom were not SNP, but whether SNP or not, I actually did not meet a fellow canvasser knocking on doors or a fellow speaker at a meeting who wanted to keep the monarchy. Everyone I met was a Republican, and I have no idea why on earth this is a monarchist party when all the members are Republicans. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. I can only imagine that it was in the vague hope that the Tory-leaning voters of Broughty's Ferry, who sometimes vote SNP to keep Labour out, might vote for independence. Well, I've news for you, they didn't. They didn't. And it's high time we came out as a party that says we want an equal society, and an equal society by definition cannot be a monarchy. I'm not even going to bother on the House of Lords. About which almost the worst thing, as I can say, is that probably shortly Alistair Darling will also be in it. We have very little constitutional protection in the United Kingdom. And in the United Kingdom, of course, one of the few enshrined protections we have is the European Convention on Human Rights, which the Conservatives are now out to abolish. They've out to resile from the treaty. I want to make one point on human rights, and I'm probably best known as a human rights activist. I've spent, up until the referendum started, I spent most of my time campaigning internationally for human rights. And human rights also are good but not sufficient. The European Convention is a very good document. But an even better document is the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Because that declaration includes positive human rights, as I would put them. Not just the freedoms from, but the freedoms to. Not just freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, those classic human rights. The United Nations Convention on Human Rights includes the right to work, includes the right to a living wage, includes the right to universal benefit and free education. And the United Nations Declaration, I do urge you, Mrs. Baby, hopeful, but I seriously urge you to go back after this meeting, sometime in the next couple of days, Google the UN Declaration of Human Rights and read it, because it is truly an inspiring document. I would like to see adherence to the UN Declaration of Human Rights enshrined in a future Scottish Constitution. I'd also like to see more, we talked, and the Yes campaign was an amazing mixture of social media, of blogs, Twitter and Facebook, with people meeting, old-fashioned and the very new, all together. People meeting in town halls, discussing this kind of citizenship activism that was being talked about. I want to see more of that in politics. I actually want us to have less professional politicians and more citizen activist politicians. I'd like to see, even the SNP, I'd like to see MPs have less paid staff. I don't want us to have the ladder that Jim Murphy and people goes on there anymore. We want politicians to be people who are citizens active, and the vast bulk of people involved in politics to be doing so as a part of citizen activism, not as a career, because careerism in politics is the biggest problem in the United Kingdom today and has led to the vastly corrupt, overweening and unprincipled kinds of governments we have, where whether you vote Labour or Tory makes no difference at all to the neocon policies that you can expect. And finally, I would like to say I don't give a damn about the Smith Commission. Nothing useful is going to come from the Smith Commission. There is no way at all that any deal that involves Scotland being able to spend its own revenues is going to include oil revenue, which somehow belongs to the UK, not to Scotland. It's going to include the duty on whiskey. It's not. Any new financial package, do not be. I worked in Whitehall for well over 20 years. I was a member of the senior civil service for 6 years. I know these people. You cannot believe how vindictive they are feeling towards Scotland as well. Any solution will give us less money, not more money, will hamstring our government. We're going to face massive benefit cuts. There's no way anything good is going to come from it. And the truth of the matter is, there's only one way we're going to be able to achieve greater social justice, and only one way, and this is what really matters to me, we're to control our own foreign and our own defence policy so they can't send our children to die in illegal wars. The only way forward worth considering is full independence.